My beloved child, there was a time when your words brought light into a room. When people leaned in, asked questions, waited for your thoughts. When your voice mattered not just because of what you said, but because of who you were. And yet now, the room is full. But no one is really listening. You're still speaking, but quieter. You've learned, slowly and quietly, that sometimes it's just easier to keep things to yourself. You try to tell them about something you read, something funny you remembered, a moment from your day. But halfway through, they check their phone. Someone interrupts. The conversation drifts, and you're left holding your words like unopened letters. You smile to cover the ache. You stop mid-sentence, pretending it wasn't important. But the truth is, it was. You weren't just sharing a fact. You were sharing yourself, and it hurts when that's met with silence. So now, you speak less. You keep your thoughts short. You rehearse whole conversations in your head and never say them out loud. And each time it happens, something small inside you retreats. You don't want to be a burden. You don't want to beg for attention. But sometimes, all you want, all you've ever wanted, is for someone to stop and truly listen. Not to fix. Not to judge. Just to listen. And child, I do. I always have. From the very first word you ever spoke, and even before that, I was listening. Every half-formed thought, every soft sigh, every sentence that never found a place to land, I heard it. Not just with understanding, but with tenderness. While others are too distracted, too busy, too tired to listen fully, I lean in. You may whisper it in the kitchen while stirring a pot. You may say it under your breath as you fold towels. You may not say it at all, just think it. And I still hear. I never miss a word from you. Not one. What if your voice was never meant to depend on the attention of others, but anchored in the attention of your Creator? What if being heard wasn't about how loudly you speak, but who is listening? And I, the maker of the stars, the author of every breath, I am listening. So let me ask you gently, when did you start believing that your words no longer mattered? Who taught you that silence was safer than expression? Who convinced you that your story only had value if someone else clapped or nodded? Because I never did. Today, I invite you to speak again, not to them, not even out loud, but to me. When the house is quiet, and your thoughts start swirling, choose just one thing you wanted to share today. Then, whisper it to me, just as you would to someone sitting across from you with warm eyes and an open heart. You don't have to pray in a certain way. You don't need special words. Just say it, simply, honestly, and let yourself believe that I'm already listening. Your voice does not disappear in the quiet. It becomes clearer, stronger, more sacred. Because I'm not waiting for you to impress me, I'm waiting for you to trust me with your heart again. So come. Say what you needed someone to hear today. I'm here. And I'm not going anywhere. My beloved child, you're not asking for answers. You're not asking for anyone to fix your problems, rewrite your past, or offer perfect words. All you want, and it feels so small, yet so important, is for someone to pause long enough to truly hear you. Not to correct, Not to advise. Just to listen. To hold space with you for a moment and say, I hear you. And I'm staying. But too often, before you finish a sentence, someone's already offering a solution. You say you're tired, and they tell you to exercise. You say you miss someone, and they remind you how lucky you are to have lived so long. You share something honest, and they rush to dismiss it or change the subject. And what hurts isn't that they don't care. It's that they don't know how to care quietly. How to listen without needing to solve. How to sit without trying to steer. You remember once trying to talk about a grief that still lingers, and how quickly they moved on. Or the time you shared a memory from years ago, and someone said, you already told us that. And so you closed the door on that part of your heart. Not because it wasn't real, but because there didn't seem to be room for it anymore. But my child, let me tell you something I long for you to know. I don't interrupt. I don't rush. I don't try to fix what needs to be felt. I don't hand you a solution when what you really need is companionship. I sit with you. I weep with you. I listen until the silence says more than words. I don't just hear what you say, I understand why you say it. What if you didn't need people to respond the right way to feel loved? What if the healing you're looking for isn't in being understood by others, but in being received fully by me? I am not uncomfortable with your sadness. I am not impatient with your processing. I am the one who holds every word without needing to edit it. So let me ask you now. In love, have you been speaking just to be answered, or to be known? What if the comfort you seek isn't found in their advice, but in my still presence? What if, every time someone tried to move past your heart too quickly, I leaned in closer? Today, take one thing that hurt, maybe something small they brushed off, or something big they tried to fix, and say it to me again. Not to get a solution, just to say it, out loud or in your spirit, and then breathe. Don't rush to explain it away. Just leave it in the air with me. Let me be the one who doesn't jump to the next line. Let me hold it with you, because I'm not uncomfortable with your emotion. I'm not afraid of your honesty. I welcome it, every raw, unfiltered, unpolished part of you. You don't have to wrap your heart in neat sentences here. You just have to bring it. And tomorrow, when someone talks over you again, or misses the meaning behind your words, remember this: I heard it. All of it. And I stayed. My beloved child, there was a time when conversation felt like connection, a warm thread woven between hearts. But now, it often feels like you're talking more to yourself than to anyone else. You find yourself whispering thoughts in the kitchen, making small jokes that no one responds to, repeating stories just to hear them out loud. Not because you're forgetful, but because silence echoes too loudly if you don't fill it with something. Sometimes you hear yourself ask questions into the room, rhetorical ones, perhaps, but still hopeful someone might answer. Wasn't that a beautiful sunset? Do you remember that old song? And the silence answers for them. You pause. You nod. You say, I guess not. It's not dramatic. It's not despair. It's just this quiet truth: I am here. and I wish someone knew what was going on inside me. So you begin talking inward. You replay conversations from years ago. You imagine what you would say if someone really asked how you're doing. And somewhere along the way, you've learned how to comfort yourself. Not because you stopped needing others, but because you stopped expecting they'd stay long enough to listen. But I have. I'm still here. And not only do I listen, I delight in hearing you. You may think your thoughts are small, but I treasure them. You may think you're just speaking into the air, but every word you've ever whispered has reached me. You're not just talking to yourself in those quiet rooms, you're praying without realizing. Every sentence, every sigh, every moment you've spoken aloud to the walls, I was standing there too. What if the deepest conversations of your life are happening not in public? Not even with people, but in the sacred stillness between your soul and mine? What if I've been answering in ways you haven't yet recognized, through a gentle peace, a sudden warmth, a scripture that appears when you need it most? What if all this time you thought no one was listening? I've been leaning in, memorizing every word. So let me ask you this, if I've always been present, in the silence, in the sighs, in the whispered memories, would you still feel alone? Or would you begin to realize you've never been by yourself at all? Today, when you find yourself speaking into the room, don't stop. Don't apologize. Don't feel foolish. Keep talking, but this time, do it with the awareness that I'm there. You don't need to switch your tone or change your words. You just need to open your heart a little wider and say, Lord, if you're here, hear this with me, because I am and I always have been. Let that be your strength today, not that the silence is gone, but that you are not alone in it. My beloved child, I don't just hear you, I hold your words. Even the ones no one else seems to notice. Even the ones you only speak in your heart. Your words are not lost in the air. They don't disappear into silence. They come to me, like a soft song, like incense rising, and I receive every single one. You may not even realize how often you speak to me. In the sighs between tasks. In the memories that rise unexpectedly. In the way your hand pauses over an old photo and you whisper, I miss you. No one else hears it. But I do. I don't need the volume of your voice to know your longing. I don't need carefully chosen words to understand your pain. When you say nothing, I hear everything. You might think your words are small, unimportant, fleeting. But I don't measure them the way others do. What people brush off, I treasure in my word. I promise to record your tears in my bottle. Do you think I would treat your words with any less care? I write them down. Every prayer, every cry, every quiet sentence that never found a listener here on earth. I hold them not just in memory, but in mercy. What if your need to be heard is not a flaw, but a divine fingerprint? A reminder that you were created for communion, for connection, not just with people, but with me? What if you've never been too talkative or too quiet, but just right for the God who shaped your voice and longs to hear it? Let me ask you this, not as a rebuke, but as an invitation. Have you given up on being heard because others weren't ready to listen? Have you closed your heart out of self-protection, when I've been waiting with open ears? What if the very ache to be heard is the space I want to fill, not with noise, but with knowing? Today, write down just one thing you wish someone had heard this week. One thought. One sentence. It doesn't have to be profound. Maybe it's, I'm tired. Or, I felt proud of myself today and no one noticed. Or even, I wish someone had asked how I slept. Write it down. Then fold the paper. Press your hand to it. And say, Lord, I give this to you. That's all. That's enough. That's worship, because in my presence, no word is wasted. No whisper overlooked. No emotion too soft to be remembered. I gather what the world leaves behind. I hold the parts of you no one else sees, and what I hold, I honor. My beloved child, you've spent so long adjusting your words, softening them, shortening them, holding them in, all to fit the attention span of others. But with me, you don't have to measure your voice. You don't have to wonder if it's the right time. You don't have to apologize for feeling too much or saying too little. I'm never too busy. I'm never halfway listening. I am fully, lovingly, eternally here. So why not make a place for this, for us, to meet each day? A chair by the window. A corner of the table. A small space that says, here, I am heard. It doesn't have to be formal. It doesn't have to be perfect. All it has to be is yours, and mine. What if you began to treat your words not as leftover thoughts, but as sacred offerings? What if each day, even just for a few minutes, you gave yourself the gift of being fully heard, not by people who might forget what you said, but by the God who never misses a word? It could start simply. A notebook on your nightstand. A cup of tea and 5 quiet minutes. One sentence written or spoken each day. This is what's on my heart today, Lord. Or, here's what I wish someone had asked me. And then, silence. Not empty silence. Holy silence. The kind where my presence fills the space between your words and my response. Let me ask you this gently, are you willing to stop waiting for the right person to listen, and start believing that I always will? Are you open to receiving a kind of attention that doesn't fade when the phone rings or the conversation shifts, but stays anchored, steady, soft? Today, choose your space. It doesn't have to be fancy. Maybe it's the same place where you already sit. But now you'll sit there with intention. Bless it. Make it holy. And then, when you're ready, speak, or write, or whisper, or weep. Say something as simple as, here I am, Lord. And let me do the rest. You don't have to fill the time. You don't have to find the right words. You just have to show up. Because in my kingdom, presence always matters more than polish. And when you leave that space, whether you've said much or very little, you'll walk away carrying something the world often forgets to give you, the peace of being fully heard, fully held, and fully loved. My beloved child, you've spent years talking into the air, or so you thought. You've whispered wishes into the silence, prayed without knowing it, spoken to the walls when no one else was around. You may have believed it was just you, filling space with sound, keeping yourself company in the quiet. But the truth is, You were never just talking to yourself. Every word you spoke, in loneliness, in longing, in laughter, I heard them. Not as background noise, not as distant echoes, but as precious treasures. You weren't rambling. You were relating. You weren't alone. You were with me. That moment you said out loud, "I wish someone understood me." I did. When you whispered, "I don't want to be a burden," I responded, "You never are." When you repeated an old story for the third or fourth time, not because you forgot, but because you needed someone to remember it with you, I remembered every detail. And when you wept without a sound, holding your emotions behind a closed door, I gathered every tear as if it were a prayer. I haven't just been listening. I've been abiding. I haven't just been present. I've been paying attention to the pauses in your sentences, to the weariness in your tone, to the beauty in your ordinary, uncelebrated honesty. So let me ask you now, not with pressure, but with promise, will you finally believe that your voice is not small? Will you let go of the lie that you're talking into nothing? Will you receive the truth that I've been listening all along, even before you opened your mouth today? Breathe. That's all. Take one deep, full, sacred breath. As you do, whisper this truth: I have never spoken alone. God has always been with me. Let it settle into the bones of your memory. Let it rewrite the story of your silence. Let it anchor you in this simple, powerful reality: you are heard. You are known. You are loved. You don't need to shout to be noticed. You don't need to explain everything to be understood. In my presence, your voice is safe. And even when the room is empty, your words will never go unheard. So speak freely, my child. Speak often. Speak boldly, because I'm still listening and I always will be.